Welcome to the Indie Game Arcade, a podcast all about indie games, and in this first episode, we're going to be talking about Dicefolk, along with a few others. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And since this is our very first episode of the podcast, I just thought real quick, let's give a quick mention, because some of you listening might not know who the heck we are. We've been doing like podcasts and other things for years, but this is a new one. You might be like meeting us for the first time through your ears, which is weird to say. Specifically for this, I thought maybe we'll mention some of our favorite indie games and like game genres and stuff, so folks listening can get a feel for the kind of games that they should probably expect from this podcast, in the future and stuff. So Joseph, if you would want to start, what kind of games do you like to play?
Yeah, what kind of games do I like to play on the spot?
I can answer for you, but
no, the obvious ones are like, especially when it comes to indie games, roguelikes, like that. If I probably own just about every single roguelike that has a very positive or above rating on Steam, period. Like that sounds like a joke, but I'm pretty sure if it says roguelike and I notice it, I'm going to buy it. Even before I play it, even before I know anything about it. If it's got positive reviews, I'm like, okay, I trust people.
You know how I know that's true? Because you shared your game library with me again the other day. So I saw, like, now that we have this massive shared library of like, it's like over 1,000 games between the two of us, I would say 80% of that is your games. And within that, I would say 80% of that is just nothing but roguelikes. So, because like I did the dynamic collection in there so I could like sort everything. The roguelikes section is like almost 600 games just by itself. I was like, oh my God, like it's way more than it was like a couple years ago.
I have more roguelikes than I could ever reasonably play in a lifetime, maybe, unless I didn't have to work, and then I'd probably just do that. But yeah,
or eat or sleep.
Well, I can eat and play a roguelike most of the time.
That's true. Can't sleep and play them.
I just won't sleep. So I like roguelikes. I like Souls-likes. I like games that are like other games, basically. Yeah, so Souls-like being games that are like Dark Souls in that they're very challenging. And I like games that really push me to a certain limit, because I find that like a lot of other game genres just aren't challenging enough for me. I get kind of bored if I'm being like handheld through a game. So that's why these games kind of really strike my interest, because they're both very challenging game genres in different ways. Some examples would be Dead Cells, Enter the Gungeon. I had a lot of fun with that one. Hades, of course. That's like a huge one. Everybody knows Hades. As far as like indie Souls-likes go, there is Another Crab's Treasure, which I recently played all the way through, and Salt and Sanctuary is a really good one as well. Salt and Sanctuary 2, that one's fine, but the first one, really good, solid game.
Did you play through Hollow Knight, and is that considered a Souls-like?
Yeah. I did play through Hollow Knight also.
Okay.
So that, I think that's an indie, technically. Yes, it should be. So those are the kind of games I like. Real tough games.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the complete opposite spectrum of that, where I like the shiny, pretty stuff with like, lots of story, just real in-depth story and things like that. So, I like a lot of other things too, though. Like, I don't want to get shoehorned into just being, only liking the really easy stuff. But like, I do have a love for like just a real good walking sim with a good story, like Firewatch. I'm really fond of like mystery games, puzzle solving games. So things like Return of the Obra Dinn and The Case of the Golden Idol was one of my favorites from the last few years. The entire Rusty Lake series and Cube Escape series. I love those games. I've played through pretty much all of them except for one. But I also do dabble occasionally in the roguelike. I do really, really like roguelikes, especially many roguelikes that revolve around like deck building and stuff. Really enjoyed Wild Frost, Monster Train. I've sunk way too many hours into both of those. Inscription, which like is kind of like a mix of both, where it's, it's kind of, a game from point A to point B, but then it also has Casey's mod, which is sort of that roguelike experience with cards after the fact. So that's another game that I've lost way too many hours in. That's sort of where I'm at with indie games. That's sort of my thing. And I also really do enjoy good indie horror games as well. Even if they're like, like goofy, cheeky RPG Maker ones, like I'll play it. I played Mad Father way back in the day, The Witch's House. I got that. I'll play those.
Yeah, my tolerance is a little bit different for cozier games, I guess you could call them.
Yeah.
If I like for a walking sim, I guess if I'm walking through a game, then and I'm not under constant threat of being snuck up on by an assassin or shot with a giant flaming arrow, then it's just not fun for me. So bring on the challenge. Give me some hard enemies. Let me do some boss rushes. Just throw it all at me.
When you jump into a game, you need to feel your adrenaline pumping. You need to be on high alert. And I'm like, I need to be in this game and I need to be able to mellow out and chill and take in the sights and sounds. And if there's some good music to it, all the better.
I mean, if it's not automatically hard, like a Dark Souls game or something, or it doesn't have a hard mode in it, then it's not going to capture my interest.
Well, and that's why we have our two YouTube series on our NerdSloth YouTube channel. You've got hard mode and I have casual gaming. So
that is very true. Yeah, we know ourselves well. Yeah.
But we do converge when it comes to roguelikes, since we do like those. And for today's topic too, luckily for us, it is a roguelike deck builder, which is Dicefolk, which was developed by Tiny Ghoul and Leap Game Studios, and then published by Good Shepherd Entertainment.
It's all caps, so I think it's like Leap Game Studios.
Oh, okay. So I said it wrong. Leap Game Studios.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
There we go. It's my bad. I pronounced it wrong. I do that sometimes.
You don't want to offend Leap.
Yeah, I don't want to mess that up. I can't do that. For a quick description, Dicefolk is a tactical roguelike game based on customizable dice and monster catching mechanics. On your adventure as a Chimera summoner, you'll meet dozens of unique and powerful creatures that you can recruit to create the perfect team. Yeah, if you were going to, that's a description, but...
That is a description.
But as you and I know, the game descriptions that sometimes that you see on Steam and other places doesn't quite, this one, it's okay, but sometimes the descriptions don't quite match exactly like the feel when you play certain games and stuff. So like, if you were going to pitch this game to me in just like a short like sentence or two, like how would you describe it yourself?
I would say it's like a combo of Pokemon and Slay the Spire, but with dice. And then if that doesn't intrigue someone enough, then I can't help them.
That's perfect. No, like you nailed it, because that was kind of where my head was at too. It's like it does feel quite a bit like both of those things and takes really, really good bits from both games.
But I also don't want to like downplay it by, if someone has certain opinions about Pokemon games or how repetitive they may be. Yeah, it's only Pokemon in the sense that like you are quote unquote capturing chimeras and using them on your team, but it's not in the sense that you're like hunting them down like that. Like you're essentially hiring them onto your team. You only have like a set amount that you're getting per run. So it's not like you got to catch them all kind of thing. Like that is something that will happen over the course of you playing this game multiple times. And trust me when I say that, like when you start playing this game, if you're into it at all in the first run, you're just going to have more fun every single time. We introduced ourselves to it when I was visiting you last week, and it was just something I had picked up because, I pick up all roguelikes, and I was like, we could try this out. This one looks fun. We jumped into that game thinking we were going to play multiple games throughout those 5 days I was there, but we only played that game. We were so invested in it.
I checked the hours played afterwards, and it was like 25.8 hours or something like that.
Yeah,
that we did.
That doesn't surprise me.
It was pretty good, and that was in between doing like all kinds of other things. Real quick, before we get into the gameplay and the mechanics, I did want to touch on this game does have a story to it. However, like I was when I was looking it up, and I do remember there being like a through line with a story and everything. But like the story aspect of it is so minimal and so little consequence to the like game mechanics and the progression of the game itself that like I almost kind of forgot there was a story. And then I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're very much a like person that's very focused on the gameplay and stuff, where I usually am the story guy. Do you remember there being a story or what that was?
The only ounce of story that I remember getting is in the intro. And even like that, like I sat through it. I was impressed by the visuals. I really liked the animation they used throughout the game, but I wasn't paying attention enough to capture anything from it. Aside from we need to beat this one monster, like at the end of the run, basically.
That one guy. Yeah.
That one guy.
We got to beat him.
Gotta beat that guy.
So the story is you are playing as this woman named Alea. I'm assuming is how you pronounce the name. I don't think we heard anyone actually say the name out loud. I think we only saw it in text. Alea is a Dicefolk hero. So that's actually like a title within this world or whatever. So instead of like Pokemon Master, you got a Dicefolk hero. Love that.
News to me.
She discovers her ability to befriend Chimera and fight back against the evil forces threatening humanity's extinction. Namely, that is like this big evil force they're talking about is like, from what I understand, a big monstrous Chimera named Salem.
Yep.
We'll talk more about Salem later. But from what I gather, Salem has conscripted these Chimera to attack the human race in this world, which is also a very like, I guess, early medieval kind of fantasy sort of setting. You are able to, I think you're like the only one, I guess, the only one that can also conscript these Chimera and fight back against Salem's Chimera. So that's basically the setup for this game, and feels like it has pretty much no impact on gameplay at all, but it's just kind of a fun little backdrop. And you do get some cool cutscenes. Like Joseph said, there's some really good animation for it.
Yeah, it's not about the story though, is what you're getting at. And I completely agree with that. Yeah. But the gameplay is so engaging that it will really capture your attention.
When we first started playing it, I was unsure of like just how intricate this was going to be. And it was like the more we played it, the more we kind of figured out just how, I don't want to say customizable, but I guess that is kind of the word, your teams can be, and just like how different everything can be depending on the choices you make and the things that you purchase within the game. Like how much that changes how you can play the game.
Yeah. So the deck building aspect of it is a misnomer in the sense that like what you're really building are your dice. You are constructing the faces of your die, which usually it start different depending on the class that you choose, or the what was it? The
is a
insignia
talisman
or something. The talisman that you choose. Yeah, that kind of sets you up with a different set of both Chimera and different starting dice pools. And you can customize those dice pools as you go through to give yourself better odds of rolling something favorable. And what's really interesting about it, like, because there are other dice rolling games, especially roguelikes, but this one, you're rolling not only for yourself, but also for the enemy, or choosing what the enemy does based on those. And even if that sounds like that would be kind of like, I don't know, cheap or too easy, like there are times where you have to make really hard decisions. Like I'm going to have to sacrifice myself, or at least one of my Chimera this turn, because of the dice. I rolled so well for the enemy that they're just going to kick my ass if I, don't defend myself in some way. So it's like, there's a lot of back and forth. It's kind of like playing chess, but with yourself, but
yes,
more interesting than that, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that sounds lame, like the idea of playing chess with yourself. But this is really interesting in that it makes you think, and you have to strategize so much more, because you have to consider when there are dice that the opponent rolls, and that show up on the opponent's dice and that you have to use. And I do want to clarify real quick that the faces of these dice, it's not like you're rolling numbers or anything like that. Like the faces are like different attacks and things like that. So whatever attack you have to use, you have to balance that against what you have on your team. So it's like, okay, maybe you have a shield on one of the 3 dice that you have that can absorb one of these attacks on that side. But if they've got 2 other attacks, you're going to have to eat 2 of those other attacks. So it's like, okay, which chimera, which you have 3 out at one time, and you can swap them in and out. Like you have like your 2 leaders.
You're essentially rotating them through to bring one to the front. And that is generally the one that's going to be taking your hit, although there are exceptions to that. Primarily, you're going to, like, in those instances, in the instance that you just mentioned, you would want to bring someone either with the most health or who can just take hits easier or better up to the front to absorb that hit. But you can't just rotate on the whim. That is also one of the dice faces, is rotate around. And there's some that are like random rotations. You don't know which way it's going to go. Some that are like either left or right. The best kind of rotation you can have is one that lets you go either way, but that's something you have to purchase through like a dice smith. So it's really, it gets into these like really intricate stages of like, this didn't seem like it was going to be important on our first playthrough or 2, but then the more we got in the weeds of it, the more we're like, oh man, I really see how this stuff can work together. And I also want to add that like the chimera, even though like you will get ones that are seemingly stronger than others, they're all very situational in that you can get some together that have really good synergy with each other, even if they're not like the highest level chimera you have or whatever, or have encountered or picked up. That you can have like some ones that are seemingly weak, but have like an ability that really benefits some of the other ones. So that's where a lot of the customization comes in, is customizing your team, making them work together to really help out your odds of winning. And I would say probably more than any other roguelike that I played in the recent past, this one, we've had more of a win rate than any of the others, which is kind of surprising given how like complicated this might sound, us just describing it. But I would say it's very forgiving in that it doesn't seem to be super punishing of things. And even if you do lose a run, which I've lost a couple, you still are gaining something in the roguelite sense that you're going to be more powerful next run because you've either gathered a new talisman or you have gathered more chimera to help your team along, picked up some new items that can pop up. So there's a really good sense of progression, whether you win or lose. But I would say more than like most roguelikes, you're probably going to win more matches than you lose.
Yeah, and that makes you feel good. It makes you want to play it more too, which I think is incredibly smart. Whereas like, I have played other roguelikes where, you get so far and then you just get crushed. And once that happens, and especially if it happens multiple times, like those are the ones that I'm kind of like, I think I'm done playing this one. That eventually happened to me with Wild Frost, because that one was just so intensely difficult.
So unforgiving.
Yeah. So, that's one of those ones where like eventually I was just like, I got to give up on this one. Like there's no point in me continuing to try and play that one. But this one, like it makes you want to keep playing. More stuff that I want to add with how finely detailed things can get. When you are getting these chimeras, now like everything is set up and the game progression is kind of set up in that there are typically 3 biomes, which are essentially, let's say, 3 levels each run that you do. And in one biome, there might be 8 battles or something, along with like other places you can go to like spin the coins that you earn. So there's all those battles. There's places you can shop. At those shops are tokens. Tokens are things that can be spent to give you an immediate effect within battle. It might be like a heal token. It might be some sort of status token that you can use to benefit your party or to put some sort of effect against the opposing party or the opposing party's like leader, something like disabling their attack for that round or putting one of them to sleep so they can't attack until they're hit again and woken up. So you've got those tokens. You've also got items that you can equip, and those items can dramatically change gameplay. Those are things that might be like stat boosts, or they might have a completely different ability. And some of those abilities too may require something called activation, which is like you can put that item on your Chimera, which they have like little pocket slots basically that it's another thing that you have to like make decisions about within the game. Do I want to add more slots to my Chimera? Because that means you might have to potentially sacrifice being able to heal them, at a time that you need it. But anyway, let's say you get an item that requires activation. You put it on your Chimera. When it's activated, it will do 1 hit of damage against the opposing leader for like equal to your leader's strength, which is like 8. So you get an extra 8 damage. That's great. But to activate, you have to find like a dice smith or something that has the activation dice face to install on one of your dice. So you can't use that activation until that the die rolls up onto that face during the battle. But man, those activation ones are usually extremely powerful. And what's crazy is some of the matches that you and I had were the ones where we got multiple items put on one Chimera that were all activation ones. I had one the other day, like I was doing another run, and it was something like buffs the strength of the Chimera. And the other one was just like if the Chimera gets buffed, like an extra strength or something, does like a hit like once per turn or something. It created like a loop and kept triggering, like re-triggering each other. So it was just like buff, hit, buff, hit, buff, hit. And it just kept happening. So I was just like wiping everyone on that freaking other team.
Yeah. I had a situation like that where it was like there was some kind of token that I had where it was like when you use activate, it has a chance of reactivating, like 50% chance or something of reactivating. So it does it again. And then I had also happened upon like 2 different ray guns. And what those do is like they will attack the leader of the opposing group for your base damage, however much that is. And so like it was like using both of those ray guns when I would first activate it, and then it would re-trigger itself and do it again. And then I think it had a chance or had something else that allowed it to trigger again. And so then it would happen again. So I was essentially hitting that thing 6 times before I even got to use my actual attack. So it's some of those chains that can just really come together well. Dependent on your dice rolls, of course, but once you have like a decent amount of those activation tokens on your dice, your chances are really high of getting to roll them 1, sometimes maybe 2 per turn. And then that's where it becomes just insane seeing the damage you can dish out. Like there was one run where I was able to beat the final boss in 1 turn. Like he didn't even get to go. Yeah, because things just kept chaining off of themselves. And he just got melted. So that's where it's so satisfying to see like your plan come to fruition in such a big way that it's like, okay, awesome. Like I just destroyed this run. And what I appreciate most about that with roguelikes in general is that after that's done, like you're earning a lot from it, but you're going back to scratch from that after that run's over. You don't become just this omnipotent being that is constantly overpowered. You're starting over, and you have to think up a new sort of strategy because you're at the whim of RNG, like the random items that show up, the random things that show up. But it's like finding a smart way to build based on what you have. That's what's really fun to me about these types of games in general, is giving me the ability to kind of think my way through a situation where I'm not sure what's going to come my way. I can't pre-plan this. I just have to plan as I go.
And I think another thing that we forgot to mention is that each Chimera has their own uniqueness. There's always some sort of ability or special stat that they have that others don't. So that makes it even more, unique for each run that you have, especially because there are so many Chimera in the game. And the more you play it, the more that you unlock both Chimera, both tokens, items. So each run feels completely different. Like I've probably done, I want to say a dozen runs now, and each one has felt different. Like none of them have been the same team, the same items, the same strategy.
Yeah.
And I can't say that about any other roguelike that I've played.
I remember one of your first runs, you went through it with one of the little starting pawns, and he was your primary hero. You had buffed him up so much. He has no like additional abilities or whatever past whatever he starts with, but you powered him up so much that he became your tank, your damage dealer. He was your main dude, even though you had the other more powerful Chimera backing him up. And that was just so fun to watch this little dude just like work his way through the whole work his way through the whole boss, the whole game. It was great. It was a good run too.
Yeah, and I think part of that too was because not only from really buffing him, but also like playing it smart with the two other Chimera I had, which was using them as like smart supports. Because I think that's the one where I remember we got this one Chimera when I was playing that I don't even remember what it's called because almost all the Chimera have like names that are just wild to pronounce. You and I were too lazy. We did not want to even try to pronounce some of them.
I just remember Bakamu, the elephant.
There was one that I think was obviously supposed to be some sort of small rock thing, but to us, he looked like a piece of toast, so we kept calling him Toast.
That's right. I still don't know his real name, but he's Toast to me forever.
I think that was the run that I ended up getting Toast, because usually we were facing off against him. He's just this little guy. He barely has any damage. He only does 2 damage, which is minuscule compared to any other Chimera. But he had a really high intelligence. So I kept putting items on him that really took advantage of that intelligence, especially like healing items and stuff. So like whenever like those were used, it would heal the crap out of my leader. And yeah, it was just this little starting guy. Like when you start, you get 3 little like puppet dudes that are meant to be replaced, really. But yeah, I was able to do that because of how I utilized, that guy in my back line. And then I think I had that little swordfish dude on the other one that hits every time that guy hits.
Oh, yeah.
So that's his ability, is when your leader attacks, if he's not the leader, he'll attack as well every time. So yeah, that ended up being a huge, like just a super satisfying run. Like, and I think that's the thing I want to really like reiterate about this game, is that it is unbelievably fun and feels so good when you get a good run in. Like you feel amazing playing it.
Yeah, it does what the best roguelikes are made to do and should do, which is make you feel great about going through a run, so much so that you're like, I need to have at least one more run. And one more turns into 2 more, turns into 3 more, and just like go on and on until you're just like, okay, I need to go to bed because I have work tomorrow or something. It's just that great feedback loop of like, this is making me happy, this is making me feel good, my dopamine's high, I won, I unlocked all this stuff, now I want to see how all this other stuff works. And so you just keep going, and it keeps you, it's got that nice like addictive loop. But like any good roguelike, you can always feel like, okay, well, I can step out of it because like I'm not in the middle of a game or whatever. But even if you are, like some roguelikes will just cut you off and like it doesn't save your progress. This one does. So even if you're in the middle of a run, you have to do something, just save it and quit, and then you're done. And you can come back into that same run whenever you want to. So this has like all the best qualities that I like about roguelikes all in one package.
I love the ability to be able to just save and pick it back up later. Especially, as a dad, like that's almost like necessary for any game I play now. Because if I can't come back, that I'm getting interrupted constantly. No one tells you when you have a kid just the amount of interruptions. Like you can't, you'll never sit down again. It's almost impossible. So I'm constantly getting up and that sucks.
So a great roguelike for dads is what you're saying.
It is the perfect, especially like, man, it runs great on the Steam Deck too. So one thing I wanted to bring up real quick is, so the look, the sound, as far as like the music and everything of it, it was good, but there wasn't really anything memorable. As far as the music goes, like in my mind, I think it was mainly the same like sort of battle song through every fight. I mean, do you remember anything differently?
The only difference I think was like between the different biomes, they might have had different battle songs, but I could be completely wrong. I'm just assuming because the music isn't what stuck out to me the most. It wasn't bad. It was just like satisfying enough to like be good background music while you really thought about how you were going to set your team up.
Right. The art, though, we talked a lot while we were playing this game about how much we loved the art, especially of the different chimeras. So that's one thing that I really wanted to bring up, especially because there are so many different chimeras and they all do feel very different. Like none of them look the same. And I think that is the big way that it feels very Pokemon-like, is that, we keep saying chimeras. In my head, like when I think of chimera for whatever reason, maybe this is like a medieval-ish thing, like I almost think of like, I don't know, something more dragon-like, like dragon lion-ish sort of thing. Even though like the anime nerd in me should be thinking of Full Metal Alchemist, but each one, they all look like a Pokemon, but I think maybe better designed than a lot of Pokemon, especially when Pokemon just has, I don't know, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel sometimes.
The only exception to that, I think, would be Toast, which I know he's not Toast, but he will always be Toast to us.
Yes.
I just... like talking about Pokemon so much, like I wish there was a Pokemon game that played like this. Like Pokemon should take inspiration from this game and set up, because when it comes to Pokemon games, like I don't really have to think through it. That's the thing. Like I know they're like primarily meant for like a younger audience. That's fine. But it's like, I just wish there were more of a challenge to it without me having to force a challenge with like a Nuzlocke run or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and especially when they've just done the same formula over and over and over again for several decades.
Yeah.
This team could make their product 100% better. Because, I would play this for, I don't know. I could keep playing this. I've had to stop so I can go back to playing other things because I'm like, hey, you've got Let's Plays to record. You have other stuff to play so that you can talk about it on the show. Knock it off. You got... But I keep wanting to go back and keep playing this. So
I have a child to take care of. I know all the responsibilities.
She hasn't eaten for days. I need to. I need to change her diaper. It smells so bad.
Disclaimer: He does take care of his child.
I really think that this game has something special. It's not just the look. It's not just the gameplay. It's like the whole package. They really did a great job on this and really refined it, which, it makes me wonder, I didn't see this game until it was like just before it was released, which I think was February, I want to say. So like, I didn't see if there was like early access or a demo or anything like that. Like I really didn't hear almost anything about it until like right when it was happening. And that might've been, I don't know if that was from like a YouTube video, like compilation or something, or what, but like I didn't hear really any buzz about this. So I'm very, very glad that you brought this so we could play it, because this is definitely, I would say, one of my favorite, if not my favorite roguelike right now.
Yeah, as far as right now goes, this is definitely my favorite. I want to jump back into it like immediately. Right now I'm playing through Star Wars Outlaws, but right after that, I know I'm going to have a game or two of Dicefolk before I jump into anything else.
Would you recommend this game? Well, I mean, you and I know, we both know we would recommend this game for people. But, so let me pose you this. Would you recommend this as a first roguelike game for someone that hasn't played a roguelike before?
Honestly, probably yes, because like we were talking about earlier, I don't think we're like like so smart or such good gamers that we're just that good at this game. I just feel like it's a very forgiving and allowing game that really lets you kind of ease into it. there are more challenges to it. And like, we even after beating the game unlocked these new challenges that could get progressively harder and harder. But I think as a base game, you're going to win more runs than you lose, like I was saying earlier. And it's got that very satisfying feedback loop. So could this be your first roguelike game? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think I would agree. And it does a really good job of kind of introducing things to you. I would say the one drawback is, as we kind of explained at the beginning, instead of like having class types or chimera types or something like that, you have these talismans which determine which chimeras you're going to be able to use for your run. And you start with the warrior talisman. It's the only one available to you on your very first run. And I feel like in our experience, that has been the one we've probably had the most struggle with.
Yeah.
Which is weird that like, I feel like it was supposed to be the easier beginning one. And I think it ended up having the opposite effect, because even though like, I think it was the last talisman you unlock before you can go and fight. It's the one you unlock when you can finally go and fight Salem if you unlock them all in order, which I want to say is called, I don't remember if it was called Wrath or if it was called Pain. I want to say it was Pain, the green one.
Yeah.
I think that's supposed to be the hardest one. And it did start out hard. Like that first biome was a struggle. But like once I got the hang of that, I was like, oh man, yeah, no, I understand how this one works now. These chimeras, this is going to be great. I understand it. I got this. I know what to do. I can strategize. But the warrior one, like every time I've used that one to start with, I feel like I've struggled. And I don't know if it's because of the chimera pool that you start with there before you unlock more or what, but
let me pose to you the idea that maybe
let me pose for you.
that many roguelikes, the way that they start is like they start harder and then they end up getting easier as you go. So in a way, maybe that's what this one is doing. Maybe the warrior is intentionally a more challenging, or at least a less like, I don't know, pre-built one to the point that it's going to make your runs easier, because maybe they don't want your first run to be easy, or at least easy to the point where it's like you can really strategize with it. It's kind of like the baseline, the Mario of the bunch. If we're talking about something like Mario Kart or whatever, it's like average everything. So it's like
Fair.
You could really go out of the different directions with it. Whereas a lot of the other ones are very specific in what they, or at least like the kind of build they want you to go for. Like the pain one, obviously you need to find things that like benefit from your dudes being hurt. Whereas the warrior one, it's just so like basic that it's like you can do whatever you want. But with that comes a challenge of like, well, now I need to find the exact kind of dice I need or other chimera I need to do what I want. So I think that one in a way might be a little bit more challenging because of just how like baseline it is.
I think that's a good assumption. So with that said, is there any advice that you would give any player for going in, like any starter advice or like any like build ideas or something like that you would be like, hey, you should try this because it was pretty fun?
Yes. Well, my advice would be make sure to pick up healing tokens when you see them.
Oh my God, yes.
Those have saved us so many times. If not those, then the shield tokens, anything that can protect you or heal you or resurrect you is going to be so paramount. And maybe not in early runs, but in later runs, like those are like necessities, because you can feel like you're doing great and they get completely crushed by like one bad fight. And then if one of your dudes is knocked out, then you only have two that you're going in with to the next battle, and that's going to make it even harder. And so I would just say don't sleep on those like healing items, even if you feel like you don't need them, like you will at some point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As far as a build goes, the other day I had a team that all stacked burn damage, and that was a lot of fun.
So good.
Yeah, that was great. I had a good time with that one. So I would just recommend that one if you happen to just want a challenge. And I'm trying to remember which talisman you need for that one. It might have been Pain, but I'm not sure.
Well, but whichever one has the T-Rex in it, because
Yeah, the
he
T-Rex dude,
is
he
great
was cool.
and adds a lot of burn every turn.
Yeah, he was the first Chimera I grabbed on that run. But yeah, each one I had was adding more burn at different intervals during the match. And like what burn does is it increases the amount of damage that you do when you attack them, and all that stacks. So it's like if your person inflicts 3 burn when they attack, that 3 will be put on that opposing lead or whoever you attack. That does go down by 1 each round, but it just means that like you would do then 3 damage if you attack them again that turn. But because the burn stacks, you know, if you have a team that is constantly putting burn after burn, I think that was one that I ended up going and fighting Salem, the big bad at the end. I remember at one point, like my burn stack was like 40 something. So it was just, there was so much burn. So I was basically doing like 40 extra damage every time I hit, which is nuts. Yeah. It just keeps building and building that damage. The longer the fight goes on, like basically the stronger you get that way. So
yeah, burn damage may be a little OP at the
it does feel like
versus
that.
Anything else.
Sometimes.
I think, yeah, I would say burn damage is probably what you would say is the most like could become the most overpowered because it can stack like indefinitely.
Yeah, I agree. Poison can kind of do that too. Poison is like damage though that gets applied after a round is over, but you get a big poison stack that will destroy a team, and that has destroyed us multiple times.
Yeah, poison sucks.
That's rough. But yeah, it's a great game overall. Love it. Recommend it. Would play all the time.
Yes.
Let's talk about just real quick, and we don't have to spend a lot of times on these, but I know that we've been playing a few other indie games here and there, and you mentioned this one like towards the beginning of the episode, so why don't you start with this? So you finished up recently another Crab's Treasure, which was one of your indie Souls-likes.
It's a crab-like, Souls-like,
a crab-like.
Where you are playing as a hermit crab, and the different abilities you're getting are dependent on the shell that you are using, because your goal is to retrieve your shell that has been taken from you because like you couldn't afford to pay the taxes on it, which is like it's this whole like overarching story, but you're essentially trying to get your shell back. That's your ultimate goal. And in the process, you kind of become the hero of the sea because you run into so many different things along the way that just circumvent you into having to act as that. But it's a really fun game. I love the parry system in it. That's really great because anytime I can get a good parry system where I can react, it makes battles just more reactionary for me. And that's how this one felt most of the time. But I'd say it's pretty overall forgiving. Even if you're not like a big Souls-like fan, I think this one's very approachable. It's not that it's like super easy either. There are some really challenging portions, but overall, like it was a pretty smooth run, and there was no point that I was hung up on for too long. I guess up until like the end, where it just became there were these really annoying like giant crab enemies that were the worst.
The laser beams?
Like they were shooting laser beams and they could hit you from anywhere. So. But outside of that, you don't have to kill them. You can avoid them. I just had to kill them personally because I was so upset with them. But aside from that, the bosses are fun for the most part. There were a couple that I didn't care for, but there's so many that you're going to like more than you don't. If you enjoy Souls-like, definitely try it out.
I just finished Sea of Stars. It's a turn-based RPG and probably the closest spiritual successor to like the original Final Fantasy games or Chrono Trigger. I would say more along the lines of Chrono Trigger than anything we've ever gotten. The story is really good. There's tons of characters that you will absolutely fall head over heels for. And the art is great. The soundtrack is amazing. The gameplay is fantastic. There's tons and tons and tons of boss fights. The majority of those boss fights are all very excellent. But what I really like about Sea of Stars is that combat system, which is really, really good. Just solely for the fact that there's a lot that you can do. There is way more strategy involved than I'm used to for turn-based RPG like this. I feel like it kind of took that genre and really ran with it and made something really special with it. So it's one I would absolutely recommend. Joseph, I really want you to play it, which I know you've got it because you and I are both backers in it. So you have it.
Yeah.
You even have the album.
I did Kickstart it, and I got the album, which is set up here on my record player, but I still haven't played the game. I'll do it one day. Yeah. I'll get around to it.
I also started playing Dream Tactics, which I'm not like super far in, but like that's a pretty fun one too. That one is a tactical RPG where you're having to do positioning and stuff like that. And the move sets are really interesting, which I like. Like it's some of the characters have a very different play style than I've seen before, you know, and it's really cute. You're playing like these women who are, I think they're supposed to represent like dreams. They're like dream warriors in a dreamscape, and you fight against pillows. And each pillow, there's like different classes of pillows. You got warrior pillows, you got mage pillows, warlock pillows, all kinds of stuff, which is just cute and really fun. It does get complex because the mechanics here is you are given like a set of cards, you know, randomly drawn, and those are your move sets and stuff. So you kind of have to pick what you're going to do or try to redraw the cards in your turn. Where I am in the game right now, which, like I said, isn't super far in, some of these like enemy encounters, there's like 20 enemies at one time. So it can get very hard really fast unless you're really smart about it. So yeah, it's really cool. And it's also has like a really cool like Game Boy Advance kind of style to it, if you look it up, like as far as the art and design and everything of it. So it's pretty neat. You can see Joseph and myself play Sea of Stars and Another Crab's Treasure over on our YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/nerdsloth, I think all my videos for Sea of Stars is now there, and Joseph's run of Another Crab's Treasure should be done, if not real close to being done by the time you're listening to this. So if you want to see us play some of the games that we're talking about, you can do that there. You can also join us over on patreon.com/nerdsloth, where you can catch me doing a run of Dicefolk, the game that we talked about. You can also get lots of updates on some of the other games that Joseph and I are currently working on. We're working on building a game ourselves. You can get updates on that. There's also tons of other bonus podcasts over there on patreon.com/nerdsloth. There's more stuff on YouTube as well for indie games. You can see a full playthrough of games like Inscription, Case of the Golden Idol, Return of the Obra Dinn, Paradise Killer, tons more. We have a lot of stuff over there. So
I just want to say, without going into any details on any of them, here are some indie titles that are on my radar personally. I'm not going to say anything about them. I'm just going to say the name, and that's going to have to suffice. So Necro King, Shogun Showdown, Knock on the Coffin Lid, Core Keeper, and Cat Quest 3, all of which I own, but have not played yet. But I will soon.
Yeah, and I'm fairly sure one of those we're going to talk about in the next episode, if not multiple, but one of them for sure. You'll find out which one.
You'll find out which.
Listen to the next episode. Hint, hint. Well, until then, my name's Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And go ahead and keep playing through that backlog of indie games that I know is stored on your Steam account. I've seen it. I've seen your library. There's tons of indie games that you bought and you haven't even played yet. So you better get in on it. We'll see you again next week.
All right, see ya.
Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth. For additional podcasts, go to nerdsloth.com. If you'd like to support the show, there are multiple tiers available at patreon.com/nerdsloth, with hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything we do at Nerdsloth Creative, including bonus gameplay videos of the games we talk about on the show. The theme music for the show is Retro Game Tapes by Audio Live. If you'd like to get in touch with us, or if you're an indie game developer and would like us to consider reviewing your game, send us an email to podcasts@nerdsloth.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade.